process used in olden days, like a Gutenberg, whose age is at the time that era is different. Nowadays we are using printing technology, and printing all this is very good. We have a much technology available right now. Modern standards and compositors put together by hand, and a skilled compositor could assemble 2000 characters or letters in an hour. All this is possible. A computer can generate the same number of characters in a few seconds. Today, more words are being printed every minute than were printed every year during the 15th and the 16th centuries. In the 19th century, the printers completed each step of printing by hand, just as they did in Gutenberg's print shop. Now there is also cast iron press in the late 18th century and early 19th century. Inventors began modifying the printing press by making parts of the press out of instead of wood. Here, Stanhope is from England, created a printing press with a cast iron frame. This is used in the 18th, recently, very endings of 1990s, 1990s, 80s also. There is also a very good technology available in 1990s, in 1980s, but up to 1990s, before 21st century, they are used to this frame, iron cast frames. Later, DTP process came. Now we will discuss about the role of typography. Paper, today we are seeing the paper on a roll. In 1865, William Bullock invented the Bullock press, which was the first press to be fed by continuous roll paper. The use of roll paper is important because it made it much easier for mechanics to be self-feeding instead of fed by hand. Photo setting or a cold type system first appeared in the early 1960s and rapidly replaced continuous casting machines like the linotype. These devices consisted of a glass disc, one per font, that spun in front of a light source, which selectively exposed characters onto light-sensitive paper. Originally, they were driven by pre-punched paper tapes. Later, they were hooked up to computer front ends. Now we have a digital era, the next generation of the photo typesetting machines, where those that generated characteristics on a cathode ray tube. Typically, machines from this era were the alphanumeric APS2, IBM 2680, Videocom, and Linoton 202. All these are some kind of machines. These machines remain the popular choice for photo typesetting for much of the 1970s and 80s, even though in 1990s. In the newspapers, there is a crew. Their title is photo typesetting operators, PTS operators. Such missions could be driven online by a computer front-end system or take their data from magnetic tape. Type fonts were stored digitally on a conventional magnetic disk device. Here, the role of typography typography is an art and a technique of printing with movable type. Typography is the art and technique of arranging type to make written language most appealing to learning and recognition. The arrangement of type involves selecting typefaces, font size, line length, line spacing. We call it is a leading. Letter spacing, we call it is in a technical language, we call it is a tracking, and adjusting the space within letter space. That is, we call a kerning. In a technical language, we call it is a kerning. Typography traces its origins to the first punches and dice used to make seals and currency in ancient times. The uneven spacing of the impression on the brick stamps found in the Mesopotamian cities of Uruk, Larsa, dating from 2nd million before Common Era, may have been evidence of type where the reuse of identical characteristics were applied to create the text. In 20th century, typography was revolutionized by computer technology. Personal computers in the 1980s, the Macintosh allowed type designers to create types digitally using graphic design software. Digital technology also enabled designers to create more experimental typefaces alongside the practical fonts of traditional typography. Designs for typefaces could be created faster with the new technology and for more specific functions. The cost for developing typefaces was drastically lowered, becoming widely available to the masses. The change has been called the democratization of type, and it has given new designers more opportunities to enter into the designing field. Typography is more than just the typefaces that are used and the white space around them. There are also some other things you should keep in mind when creating a good typographic system. What points need to here to keep in our mind? Here, hyphenation. This is addition of hyphen. We use hyphen letter, hyphen one mark at the end of lines to help prevent problems in readability or make justification look better. Most web designers ignore hyphenation as it is not something that is handled well automatically by web browsers. Another one is the RAG. The uneven vertical edge of a block of a text is called the RAG. When paying attention to typography, you should look at your text blocks as a whole to make sure that the RAG is not impacting the design. If the rag is too jagged or uneven, it can affect the readability of the text block and make it distracting. Another point is windows and orphans. A single word at the end of the column is a window, and if it is at the top of the new column, it is an orphan. Okay, column and orphan. Windows and orphans look bad, can be hard to read. Typeface classification can be called font families. What we call font families, the typeface classifications. They are groupings of typefaces based on generic classifications. On web pages, there are 6 types. They are number 1, serif, number 2, sans serif, number 3, monospaced, number 4, cursive, number 5, fantasy, and number 6 is a script. These are the 6 typefaces. At the most basic, typography is a combination of font, size, spacing, and color. Many online articles used in a clear sans serif font in a moderated size, arranged on the screen for maximum readability. Here we need to discuss about the font definition and classification. Already we have discussed 6 type of typefaces. Coming to the font, what is font? Font is a complete set of type of one size and face. The classification of fonts is still unclear. Even with the various classes and categories that have been created by some of the great type lovers of the years, some may consider categorizing the fonts separately. Others may think of it as a common division. The classification is not what the most important aspect. The way designers work with each individual and unique font should be used for their work. Here we need to know about the structure of the letter. There is a baseline. We have when we was in school days, at the stage of 2nd class or 3rd class, we used 4-line notebooks. 4-line notebooks. There is a letter in English, how to write a letter. That is a baseline, is the imaginary line, that is the base of all letters. And cap height and mean line, descender, ascender, serif, all these are the some lines used for structure a letter. So we have experienced about the lines, 4-line textbook when we was in school, elementary school stage, like the 2nd, 3rd class, 4th class. Dear students, if you have any doubts, please raise your questions. I will get you back with the clarifications. Otherwise, you may go with the chat box and type in the chat box. I will get you back with the clarifications. In English, generally, we have different type of letters with different spaces. They occupy the different spaces in the, even though on a computer also. We have discussed in the 18th part about the size of each letter. But nowadays we have using computer monitors. So there is a not required particularly to count the letter size, because all it is set by the computer automatically. The software set it always is. If we what kind of font we want, what size we want, automatically it will become with the output. So no need to count. Earlier there is a manual setting, like already we have discussed about the iron cast frame, letter frame. Then there is required how many letters to be and the size of letters. There is a small lower case letters, the number size is different. Upper case letters, there is a number size different. So they by manually they need to put into the plate in that frame. So all this is now history, because we have a modern technology. We are now using on monitor only. So just it is a click away. Just if we are click on the alignment, there is a software in MS Word, even though MS Word, MS Adobe, there is a number of InDesign, Path Express, everywhere. Just for alignment, we require, just we need to click the toolbar. There is one section for alignment. Just we will click on that. It will be aligned all letters, and even capital letters means bold letters, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, underline, whatever it is, all it is possible with the latest technology, with the use of computer monitors, computer types keyboard. It is possible because now the modern technology, emerging of the modern technology. Now it's time to know about the use of font for different kinds of works. Selecting a font for the typesetting is a tricky affair. The purpose and the reach of the document we produce to decide the font that is to be used. For many beginners, the task of picking fonts is a mystifying process. So it may be confusion sometimes. There seem to be endless choice from normal, conventional looking fonts to novelty candy can fonts and bunny fonts with no way of understanding the options, only never-ending list of categories and recommendations. This is, we now in every system there is a MS Word. If we click on the here is we see n number of fonts available with in this software, like Aaroni, Algerian, Arial Block, LMP, Britannic Bold. This is in a Calibri, Book Antique, Bookman Old Style, Century type, Comic Sans MS type, Consoles type, Copper Block type. So here number of kinds of options we have. In the type to select the types. Generally, Times New Roman type is commonly using because the fonts, the design of this font is for printing. It is good, not be clumsy and letter touching each other letter is avoided in the Times New Roman. Generally, all over the world, many of publishers now using this kind of Times New Roman, otherwise Arial. These are the popular fonts. And size also, we have a size, just is a number, whatever we can be with in a fraction of seconds. Earlier composing, those days, it required a big work if in case of to change the font size of a word or two words. They need to go again, they have to select the letters, composite, all those heavy work is there. And alignment system, kerning, length, kerning, already we have discussed about the leading, kerning, tracking, all it is possible with in this software. MS Word is also one kind of a software. Like that, Part Express, Adobe InDesign, PageMaker, CorelDRAW, all these are the softwares we are using for designing the page on the computer monitor. All this is possible because of the technology. The modern technology is made easy the work of a designer. What we are now seeing in the newspapers, it's an easy work. Easy work means there is also need skills, but comparing with some days about 1980s, 1970s, there is a lot of work, lot of design making, lot of each work it is required a more number of crew, more number of staff, but it is all possible with one designer nowadays with the advantage of technology. Now coming to discuss about the use of font for the different kinds of works. So here required some guidelines to the designer. Generally, what happened, why a designer work is required for a journalist, you have a doubt. But in many newspapers, small scale newspapers, there is a sub-editor's role is editing the text, means the content, and also designing the page also. So he or she should be act like a sub-editor and also designer. So you need to prepare a page on a PageMaker, Cortex software, or using the Cortex software or Adobe InDesign software. So which is available with their organization, so they need to use it. The beginners go about picking a font as tough. They were searching for new music to listen to. They assess the personality of each face and look for something unique and distinctive that expresses their particular aesthetic taste, perspective, and personal history. This approach is problematic because it places too much importance on individuality. For better or for worse, picking a typeface is more like getting dressed in the morning. Just as with clothing, there is a distinction between typefaces that are expressive and stylish versus those that are useful and appropriate to many situations. And our job as a designer or sub-editor is to try to find the right balance for the occasion, appropriate typeface is need to choose and font, which font is suitable for what kind of, for headlines, the font size may be different. For running text, the font is automatically fixed by the newspapers organizations. So it is depends on the newspaper's house style. Every designer has a few favorite fonts. Every designer has a few workforce typefaces. Usually, these are faces that have a number of weights like light, regular, bold, etc. And italic, condensed, etc. All this comes under the selection of font and use of the fonts. And grouping the fonts. See, typefaces can be divided and subdivided into dozens of categories, but we only really need to keep track of 5 groups to establish a working understanding of the majority of type being used in the print present landscape. The 5 groups include geometric sans, humanist sans, old style, and transitional and modern style, and also slab serifs. These are the 5 groups. There are a number of rules. There are only conversions, not like we could not call it as a rule, but picking typefaces requires a combination of understanding and institution, and also as with any skill, it demands the practice. We have to do it. With all the different fonts we have access to nowadays, it is easy to forget that there is a nothing like a classic typeface used well by somebody who knows how to use it. Here we need to know about the font economics. Means we have to save the space in the newspaper, because the space is very important for newspapers. If we use letters, the fonts with low occupied space, that is good for, that is economic and cost effective and good for the newspaper organizations. So in case if we used a good and perfect economy font, we may save at least 1 page. 1 page means in the newspapers or publications there is a number of copies. If we save 1 page means thousands of lakhs of public pages we are saving using with the economic fonts. So we have discussed about the typefaces and composing related previous history of the printing. And once again here I will recap the summary of this unit. Printing played a key role in the development of Reformation, the age of Enlightenment, and the scientific revolution. So there is a typography. Typography is the art of and technique of arranging type to make written language most appealing to learning and recognition. And we know the typefaces, the font sizes, and various classifications, divisions in the typefaces, how a designer have to be do while selecting the font, how to be give more economy to using the fonts, all we have discussed in this unit. If you have any doubts, please raise your questions. Otherwise, I will move to next unit. Dear students, so far we have discussed about 9 units in this course book. Almost all important topics all are covered in this online sessions. Now we are moving to unit number 10, that is proofreading. Why proofreading is required in the nowadays? Actually, there is a not requirement in means proofreading. The earlier days, some 30 to 40 to 50 years ago, there is a proofreader, particularly whose title is a proofreader, whose work is to do only doing proofs. But the technology, now we have a good technology, we have a modern technology available. No need particularly a person who need to proofs. A proofreader is not required for newspaper organizations or publication houses nowadays, because there is a are automated. Based on the computer network, there is a automatically the software available, even though mistakes in the word, spelling mistakes, automatically being shown on the MS Word. For example, in the MS Word, that is one kind of a software we are using for typing general letters and other communication purpose. There is in case a spelling mistake in the word, the underline, red mark underline will come. So automatically we found that there is a mistake. So we will correct it. Earlier days, there is no this kind of technology. Once the rough dummy sheet is out, the proofreader need to do corrections with the proofreading marks. Now there is the marks, putting on the marks on the paper, that is in generally we call as a journalist, that copy. It is not required nowadays. So all it is made by the softwares on computer monitor. But even though as a journalism students, we must know about the various what kind of type proofreading methods is there, and proofreading marks. In general, it is required. We are in the journalism field. We must know the importance of proofreading. Earlier, there is a proofreading for especially for the spaces, and means if the letters typed between two letters typed without space, and too much space, or uppercase or lower case, if there is a required space. So for these purposes, the proofreader would do all this kind of activity, these works. So let us discuss about the proofreading. Generally, in journalism language, we call it as a copy. Copy means script, script written on the paper by the reporter or a journalist or a writer. But nowadays, many are using online only. Even though in the smartphone, they are typing on the smartphone and sending. No need to write. What kind of practice was earlier? There is a reporter who gather the news, gather the information, and he make it as a news, and he writes on the white paper. He send it to the office by bus or by post or many, but it is old practices. There is no that kind of practices nowadays, but we have to know about it. So after reaching the copy by various mode of transportations, in the office there is a sub-editor to take it and who do corrections in that copy, to do the subbings. Then proofreader again involves in that job. He need to mark where is need to be corrections like space, for example, in case of upper letter, uppercase letter, lowercase letter. All this is the work was there. But now the technology, we have a technology available. All these kind of jobs are winded up now. There is no these kind of jobs. Even though just as a journalism students, we must know the task. Copy holder in printing is a proofreader's assistant who reads the copy aloud or follows it while the proof is read. For the detection of deviations from it in the proof, copy holder's job is to read or hold copy in connection with its compaction with the printed matter in the proof and to do other related work. Typical task: reads the copy aloud to the proofreader, notes differences between the copy held and the proofreader's proof, and checks other items desired by the proofreader, files copy and proof. Here, either copy holder or the proofreader need some knowledge and abilities. Copy holder also is expected to have to the knowledge of grammar, word uses, word division, spelling, syntax, pronunciation, and punctuations, and proofreading procedures, terminology, symbols, detecting discrepancies between proof and copy. Proofreaders' main task would include making sure that there are no errors such as letters in the wrong order, the text and diagrams are positioned correctly, page numbers are in the right order, the document follows the agreed house style. Each newspaper has some own house style sheet, style book. We call it in various nomenclatures, but the ultimate work is the same. Chapter titles match the list of contents. There are no confusing words, column or page breaks. Illustrations have the right captions and relate to the text. The layout is logical or attractive. All these tasks need to be looking the proofreader. There is a proofreader's marks. The use of almost all proofreaders reading symbols follows the same pattern. Actually, there is no kind of this practice in the nowadays media houses, even though we need to know, because as a journalism students, we must know about the proofreading marks. There is a mark in the margin along with specific details about the change that should be made and a mark in the text showing where those instructions should be implemented. Here is some proofreading marks. Maybe the text is very small letters, even though just for using delete the word, we need to use this mark. Close up or a delayed space, use this mark. And insert space, we need to use this mark. Move right, move left, center, move up, move down, flash left, flash right, align vertically, transpose, spell out means there is a spelling mistake. So check the spelling. And insert column, insert semicolon, insert a question mark, insert period, insert an dash, insert end dash, insert parentheses, insert comma. These are the punctuation marks. Insert here or make subscript. Insert here or make superscript. Wrong font, set in correct type. Set in small capitals. Set in capital text, that is uppercase. Set in lowercase. Set in bold type. Set in italic type. So these are some important proofreading marks. So every proofreader needs to know about these proofreading marks. Out style. Now we'll discuss about the out style, work style, and soft copy corrections. Out style guides are important concepts for a proofreader to be familiar with. Yet many people seem to be confused about what these are and what it is that they dictate. Some proofreaders' job can be particularly dependent on following out style, whilst for others it may not be relevant at all. The style guide is a set of rules or guidelines which dictate the style and formatting of a document or text. There might be rules for the use of abbreviations or the type of language, for punctuations and paragraphing, for structure and layout. Importance proofreading in publications. What is the importance? Earlier we have learned about the proofreading marks. What is the job of proofreader? So in the publications, who handle this activity in the organizations, in the public sector units, in the offices? So generally, they don't recruit a proofreader. In case it is a big house, means there is their publication, they are producing number of publications. So they recruit one proofreader. In case of it is a big unit, means a 1,000 crore unit or above 1,000 crore unit, the turnover unit. Maybe sometimes like BHEL, like a kind of a Navaratna companies. Even though there is a staff of corporate communications or public relations, they do this kind of activity. They recruit particularly one proofreader. in case it is a requirement. Otherwise, general public relations practitioner in some small units, small organizations or small offices, there is a public relations officer who look in all these matters, who do the proofing for their publication. The proofreader uses care, judgment, skill, knowledge, and experience in checking that the work of author, editor, and designer is satisfactory, marking amendments and advising the client of problems, all with the aim of optimizing the result. For a good result, it is required. Personal proofreaders will need to compare the proofs to the edited copy line by line or read blindly. So generally there is a rule that every proofreaders who maintains, they need to read the copy twice or thrice. Once they do it, then only they mark it, because the proofreader need to know, he need to understand the what is the content, the theme of that copy. Compare the proofs to the edited copy line by line or read blindly. Check page numbers and page headings. Check the table of contents against chapter titles, page numbers, and end matter, means appendix, index, etc. In each publication, there is a different kinds of nomenclatures. Somewhere they use annexure, somewhere they use index, somewhere they use appendices, whatever it is. So the proofreader need to check the page numbers and page headings and character titles, page numbers, and ensure consistent styles, the spellings and iconization, particularly by following a style guide, if supplied or compiling their own, supplied by the organization. There is a one kind of house style for each organization. So they use some inputs to the proofreader. Based on the inputs, we need to do proofings. In the proofings, are a number of kinds of proofings like soft proofs, digital proofs, press proofs. What are these? For soft proofs means here a physical copy. Editing and it's not a physical copy. Editing on an electronic file. And because earlier there is a physical copies, but nowadays we are using on computer monitor. So it is in the electronic form. So soft proofs means editing an electronic file and allowing the author to see the changes is called redlining. Also, we already know in the MS Word there is any case of any spell mistake, automatically the red line will come under the word. Redlining basic rules include removing all double spaces and converting hatches. Also, we call it as a dumb quotes, quotation marks, apostrophes. There is a double quote and a smart quote. So, which is suitable for that sentence? So, proofreader need to see it. And coming to the digital proofs, obtaining a sample of printed output on a computer printer before the job is printed on a commercial press. A digital proof is a color preface proofing. That is a method where a job is printed from the digital file using inkjet, color laser, or dye sublimation, or thermal wax print technologies to give a good approximation of what the final printed piece will look like. The digital proof is generally less expensive than other pre-pressed proofs. Digital proofs can often be produced on the actual paper stock of the job, adding another element of accuracy. One more kind of proof is press proofs, means test print made at the production printing press to provide the last chance for making adjustments before the volume printing of the print job begins. In the printing presses, they first they give some copies. For example, in a newspapers there is a first print that may be thousand or 2,000 copies. Just they use it for proofs only, whether the color is matching, is any letter is overloaded, or any mistake is happened. So that is one kind of proof, press proof we call it is. Yeah, dear students, it's time to conclude the session. If you have any doubts, please raise your question. In this session, we have 6 online sessions for this semester in this course book, corporate publications. In this all 6 sessions, almost all important topics were covered. Thank you, dear students. We'll call you again with a new session.